Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome on this lovely Tuesday night here in March. Welcome to another SHARKNEWZ live episode, as today we will be going over a lot of, well, most of some G.I. Joe classified stuff and some pre-orders, some digital renders, some prototypes, some leaks, and all that cool stuff which happened in the past week. But how is everybody doing? I know it's been, I think, about a week since I've streamed, so maybe a week and a half, I don't remember. But yeah, so I figured, how is everybody doing today? Let me check with the chat and see what's happening, because we have some amazing supporters and awesome names here already starting the chat with some craziness going on. So first, shout out to 49er Brian with the first comment in the chat, who says "Shark my homie" with the bazillion shark emojis. That's freaking awesome. Really cool comment by Don Carlos, says good to have you back, brother, the best G.I. Joe news in the community. Thank you so much, Don Carlos, I really do appreciate that. I will salute to you with my coffee. We have Santa Samson with the awesome 2 emojis of, dare I mention, the ultimate trolling G.I. Joe YouTuber of all time. Gotta love Santa Samson for that one. Ionic Blood with the yo, welcome. We have, so before I get to Vulture's comment, I just want to see who else is in the chat. We have Robert Wantlin, what's up? Gucci Nene, awesome name as always. James Oliver and Jason, what's up? How's it going? Derek Holloman, how are you? Rachel Salinas, welcome back. Yeah, we definitely have all the hitters here tonight. Or were you trying to say haters or hitters? Oh man. But yeah, a lot of amazing iconic names that I am very familiar with. So there's not one subscriber on this channel, at least in this chat right now, that I'm not aware of by name. So that's really awesome to see you guys back here in the chat. So thank you so much for joining, and I appreciate that. So I want to go over Vulture's comment, which says, let's talk about the Hasbro releases pre-orders for Transformers, Star Wars, and Marvel on the daily, with email box bombarded all the time, but G.I. Joe Classified goes dark without pre-orders for months. So that's actually a very valid criticism or complaint for the Hasbro G.I. Joe team. Now, I try my best to figure out when pre-orders are going to go up and what websites like Entertainment Earth or even Big Bad Toy Store will have like pre-orders, because sometimes websites like those, they have dates, right, for pre-orders, at least in advance, right? So my confusion for this latest G.I. Joe Classified figures that were released is that, if not mistaken, I don't believe Hasbro actually I'm about to sneeze. Oh man, Gesundheit. Thank you to everyone. I don't think that Hasbro actually announced or shared any type of information on what figures are going up for pre-order. Now, unless they mentioned something on the Toy Fair floor panel, and you know, they were telling the collectors about you know, certain figures are going up for pre-order, but usually Hasbro Pulse or the G.I. Joe team usually as in quotes, they usually tell you so and so figures are going up for pre-order. But unless it was like word to mouth, I didn't know about any of the figures going up for pre-order until it was like 2 days in maybe about a day and a half in advance. And that's why I made the video as fast as possible, because I honestly did not know that they were going to, you know, have any figures going up for pre-order, because they revealed digital renders back in February, and then they were literally radio silent the whole entire half a month. And then out of nowhere, Toy Fair came, and then we saw a bunch of figures going up on display. and then out of nowhere it's just like, bam, here are 6 GI Joe figures going up for pre-order. So I was very baffled, because how are the general public supposed to know when figures are going up for pre-order? Because at the end of the day, people have lives, people have work, people have other priorities and responsibilities. So unless they actually give you the time, then it's like, okay, I can kind of make room for it, or I can, you know, go on a little bathroom break, lunch break, get some pre-orders in. But imagine it's like it's radio silent, and then you just wake up and out of nowhere you get a bunch of YouTubers and a bunch of people on like the Facebook groups just saying, oh, this figure's going up for pre-order, pre-order. And you're just like, what the hell? I had no idea this was going. And then not only that, we all know that Hasbro Pulse's website kind of sucks, because they usually email people like about 15 to 20 minutes after the pre-orders are there. So, and by the time people get the emails, because they rely heavily on the emails, whether they're Hasbro Pulse members or not, sometimes they rely heavily on the emails. And then imagine you're getting the email about 25 minutes late, and then you go on the Hasbro Pulse website and the figure's already sold out like a half an hour before, and you're just like, what the hell? Why am I paying this premium price if I can't even get the damn figure? So from my end, I was just, like I said, I tried to do as much videos as possible. I tried to figure out when pre-orders were coming in. All I know was that during Toy Fair, there's all these circulation of conversations going around that so-and-so figures are going up for pre-order, and you're just like, what the hell, you know? So yeah, I was really baffled by the entire situation, and it just sucks because people are diehard fans of certain toys, and you know, they want their figures. And to have Hasbro Pulse, like, let's be honest, they're not even utilizing their Instagram or Twitter that well. Like, I don't know who's in charge of marketing for the GI Joe team, but it is absolutely abysmal. They're barely promoting anything, and it just sucks because half of I feel like they're kind of using like YouTubers to kind of spread the word for them, and these Facebook groups to spread the word for them without having them do any work. So it just sucks that, you know, we're kind of doing the work for them, and like, I don't know, it's just so weird. All right, so yeah, but Vulture, that was a very awesome conversation starter, so thank you for that one. Wilfredo Diaz, welcome. I hope you're feeling better, brother. Hope all is doing well with you. Hope you recovered as well. The Nerd Alert, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the chat, and glad you are in the chat responding. Title Manishir, welcome. Let's see here. The truth, their communication or lack of there is bizarre, says Jason. Robert says, I get tired of Pulse emailing every week for the line, but Joe's got Marvel Legends, boom boom, cut off the gum, give it to Breaker and a Valverse handgun. Even for Breaker, the the Target exclusive Breaker, that figure went up for pre-order on Target's website at 6 in the morning. Now, I was surprisingly up at that early. I don't know why, but I was up. And then out of nowhere, it was just like Breaker was up for pre-order. And I was just like, doesn't this piece of shit go out on pre-order like at 1 p.m.? It's freaking 6 a.m. and Target already has the figure up for pre-order. And I was so confused. And I was just like, okay, well, I gotta let the masses know. And then thankfully a lot of you were able to get your figures, so I'm very happy to help as much as I can. But I do feel bad for those who, you know, who are tired, who are sleeping, and you know, they wake up to only find out that the figure's already gone because they want their you know, their mass device version of Breaker. So, but yeah, it's very sad. Sean D with the interesting statistics. Thank you so much for that, Sean. Let's add some diversity to Hasbro figures for sure. Gucci says, I'm going to buy Snake Eyes on sale. Oh, we're going to get to that Snake Eyes for sure. Joe Barrett, welcome, says, yo, Shark, I just popped in. How are you doing, brother? I am doing absolutely well. How are you doing? It's good to see you, bro. Jason says, I was on it. I try, man. I really do try. Once the line is past that delays, promote the hell out of it. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Rachel. All right, so in about a few more minutes, I'm gonna go over the latest interview with Chris Cox. So I'm gonna go back up to one of the subscriber comments, James Oliver, and James Oliver says that Chris Cox never said anything about a classified USS Flagg. Now, you're absolutely right. If you read the article from Toy News or even watch, I believe it's a video, you're right. Chris Cox does not say anything about a classified version of a USS Flagg. However, you kind of have to read in between the lines, because a lot of people who collect classified now don't necessarily collect the O-ring. And granted that the USS Flagg for classified would be like 14 feet long, and I just don't know realistically how many collectors out there would actually, well, to be quite honest, those who never were able to afford or get original O-ring USS Flagg, I'm pretty sure it could sell out. However, a lot of collectors aren't really into the O-rings anymore. So there's a possible chance that Chris Cox could be saying the O-ring version of the USS Flagg, or he could be saying the classified version of USS Flagg. For this, just for the sake of this topic and conversation, I'm just gonna put where is it? Oh, I'm just gonna say he's talking about a classified USS Flagg, because again, we don't know necessarily, because I'm gonna read you guys the article and then you guys can kind of figure it out for yourselves. So again, I'm just, for those that are watching late, it's not confirming a classified version USS Flagg. I just put the word classified because that's what most of the collectors are into. People, if they even if they release a USS Flagg in O-ring form, I 100% know it's going to sell out, but that's not where most of the collector fan base is, because mostly everyone is into the 6-inch scale market. I don't know how many people would buy a USS Flagg for O-rings and not actually have O-ring figures. So again, this all has to do with size, it has to do with cost, and it has to do with the fact that I believe in one of the interviews from like a year or two ago, Emily did say that they scaled out a USS Flagg for 6-inch figures, and it would be about 14 to 20 feet long. So where the hell are you going to put a 20-foot long USS Flagg? Doesn't make any sense to me. So but yeah, I'm gonna read you guys the article in about a few minutes, but I just want to catch up with the chat and see what else is happening. Welcome to the chat, Uyama. Thank you so much. If a Flagg comes, it's a 3 3/4. Yeah, classified Flagg. Yeah, no, I 100% agree, Derek Holloman. I don't believe that a USS Flagg in classified scale is logical at any means. I 100% agree that I don't think it's going to happen. So Chris Cox could easily be mentioning that this could be a O-ring version of the USS Flagg, but again, if he is familiar with the toy market, he will know that most of these collectors are into 6-inch scale figures, and that's what's profiting them very well. That's what's making the Hasbro brand team one of the best brands that Hasbro has, is because of classified. So, because think about it this way, the HasLab Sky Striker, it was funded, but it wasn't 100% funded. It missed the last tier, which was the flight crew, which is the ketchup and mustard flight crew. So that kind of tells you that the other, like, that people don't necessarily want certain O-ring figures, but they want just the main essentials. So even if the USS Flagg does get funded in the O-ring scale, it doesn't necessarily mean that like sailors or captains or whatever that could be tiers would be funded as well. But you know, we never know. Rachel says, my take on the flag is the flag should be seasonal every Christmas. That would be insane, but a good idea. Welcome Zed Burns to the chat. Zed Burns says that's how you spell his name. Yeah, I had to look it up. Apparently that is how you spell his name. I see a lot of people were saying C-O-X, but when I looked it up, it was actually this spelling. So, all right. So I want to read you guys a little snippet of the interview from Chris Cox, the CEO of Hasbro. So this is what he basically says. Hold on, I need to skip through a lot of it. All right, so as we know, based on the previous one of the previous live streams, I talked about how Chris Cox wants to slowly segue away from action figures and focus more on video games. So the article goes more, or like the video, that's whatever, it goes more into the concept of wanting to focus a lot more on video games. And so it looks like Chris Cox is still, you know, heading in that direction. And of course the tariffs are still happening, which also means that the prices on action figures are going to go up. We've already seen prices for certain classified figures go up in price as well, which also means if a price goes up, which that could also mean quality and plastic will go down, which also means you will notice that a lot of the classified figures detail has also scaled back a bit too. So, and that becomes unfortunate because there's also been a leak. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I don't remember who posted it. There was a leak of the guitars from the SLITHER box set, and apparently those weapons were bent, like from the handle of the guitar, it was bent. So that just means that it could possibly still mean that the guitars are going to be the rubbery material. So you might get warped guitars. So that just means that they still haven't fixed the issue of having you know, better quality plastic for their figures. And this is going to be a San Diego Comic-Con box set, so imagine you actually buy the you know, the box set at Comic-Con to only find out that the weapons are still gummy and gooey, or like the handles are bent. So that would be like a slap in the face of collectors. So Chris Cox mentions that he wants to move all the production back to the US. Oh, it's a, if they were to move all production back to the US, they would likely have to reduce employment because they would need to focus more on things like automation, try to keep costs down as much as possible. So here's a key factor here. We know that the Hasbro, or should I say the manufacturers, has been switched over internationally, right? Which caused a lot of delays. So now Chris Cox is basically saying that if they were to produce action figures in the US, that means there's going to be a lot more layoffs. That means people are going to get fired. People are going to lose their jobs. And they're going to be overtaken by machines at this point in order for them to, you know, as it says, keep costs down as much as possible. So what does that even mean? Raise the price higher on action figures. So we're already getting screwed there, not to mention employees of Hasbro are going to get fired. So that kind of sucks. Let me see what else this says. So then he goes, parents are willing to pay less. What? Hold on, sorry. It says parents will be less willing to spend more money on toys. So is that true or not? So now we get into the USS Flagg segment, and then it says, Chris Cox was asked about his favorite toy line, what was it growing up, and he said a G.I. Joe USS Flagg. He was asked if people can still get that, because obviously the only way to get the USS Flagg would have to be eBay at this point, or local vintage toy shops if they still have it. But Chris Cox says they don't offer it currently, but suggests people should write in and let Hasbro know if they would buy one, because he wants to convince Hasbro designers, aka most likely Lenny, that they should make a new one. So the CEO of Hasbro, who basically has control of all this nonsense, is basically telling you, the people, to write in to Hasbro saying they want a USS Flagg. This guy has most of the authority here. I just don't understand. Like, is this guy like not? Does he understand the toy market? V Anderson says lose jobs where? No. So V Anderson, he's basically saying that there's been a lot of delays and a lot of, struggling and stuff going on overseas with manufacturers. So he's saying if Hasbro were to have a manufacturer in the US, that means in order to keep costs down because of how much stuff they have to invest in, that means the humans would have to lose their jobs because they would have to, balance that equation out. So that's another unfortunate side effect of where the world is heading, focusing more on machines rather than humans. So yeah, anyways. So again, this does not indicate that, this will have a USS Flagg in classified scale, but it only means that he's telling us to write it into Hasbro. And this guy should know where the market is for G.I. Joe, because if he's a CEO, he should know what is popular and what is not, unless he honestly does not care and it's a money thing. That's a totally different story, but that's that. So that was the Chris Cox slight interview discussion on the Hasbro USS Flagg. So again, this does not confirm classified scale, but it also could mean an O-ring scale. But then again, nobody really knows anything at this point. So let's see what else happens. All right, so moving on. The first figure we're going to talk about tonight is the brand new Legacy Series Firefighter. So let's go ahead, and I want you guys in the chat to let me know, what do you think about this figure? Was it a pass? Did you pick one up? Did you buy multiples? Let's see what's the consensus with this figure, because again, this is not the 60th anniversary figures were last year, and that was only 4 figures. So we're heading into a new territory of a new brand, or like a sub brand called Legacy, and the Legacy series. So which only means we could possibly be getting like a pilot, or we could be getting a sailor. We could be getting like other more realistic type characters. And first one, of course, being a firefighter. So yeah, absolutely, Robert. Mr. Sampson says he sounds like an out-of-touch CEO that knows nothing about the company he's running. That's very true, because as Zed Burns says, he is coming straight from a video game market from Microsoft. So he knows that the future is really toys. I mean, sorry, he knows that the future is video games. But, it's just one of those things where he's also out of touch on the toy market. So let's see here. Wilfredo says picked up 2. Skyfall, welcome to the chat, says got him 2. Robert says no generic figures for me. Zed Burns says pass. Benedict says what's up, but it's a pass. Todd C says would have been cool if he came with a head for barbecue. I mean, it's possible we could get another barbecue at some point. Joshua, welcome to the chat. Says, sorry I'm late. I didn't even realize you revived the news channel. A lot of people didn't. How many do you have now? So basically every single topic that I had on the Artist Shark YouTube channel, I branched that off into 6 different YouTube channels. So instead of, you know, confusing the hell out of everyone with all these different topics, I decided to just make a single topic channel for selective topics that I enjoy. So Wilfredo Diaz says, I pre-ordered 2 since my dad was a New York City firefighter. Shout out to Wilfredo Diaz's father, who's a firefighter, or was a firefighter. Jason says, I want to get in and give all accessories to barbecue. Yeah, it does have that orange axe cover, so that could definitely work with barbecue too. I also like the little blanket thing that he comes with too, to cool people down from a fire or something, or like the heat. So that's good stuff. Todd C, welcome to the chat. Says, we got 2 barbecues. I don't think he's popular enough for a 3rd, but one can dream. That is true. I don't know what other barbecues are there. I mean, the original first barbecue was really as classic and iconic as it gets. I don't see what update they can. I mean, they can update it more to make it more of a I don't know, futuristic look to a barbecue. However, the one that we already have is, again, as iconic as it gets. And then the Mad Marauders version is, you know, the subline, so it's whatever. So again, my only thing about these Legacy series or 60th anniversary figures is that you would think that Hasbro would bask in on 60th anniversary and give us like at least one figure every like 3 months, right? Or type of like 2 months, but instead of like all year we only got 4 figures, and I think that was a bit lackluster to celebrate 60 anniversaries of G.I. Joe. So a part of me still wants to say that this can be included in some type of anniversary capacity, but again it's like a Legacy series, it's its own thing. But because it's a more real life approach of a figure, then, and on top of that it's not numbered, I don't think it's not numbered, so it's really its own thing. Yeah, so what Zedburn says, I actually agree. Imagine if because you know how they usually do like 3 to 4 figures per wave, because they no longer do 5 figures per wave, I guess. If at least one figure in the wave was like a Legacy or a 60th anniversary figure, at least for that year, then it could have been something special or magical. But, you know. Joshua says, looks like you could swap the head for barbecue or anyone but the neck guys. I mean, to be quite honest, you can use this head sculpt for barbecue. I mean, just imagine that this head sculpt is what he's wearing underneath the helmet. It's really not a bad idea at all. You'll just have like more of a strap or a cloth, I mean like a mask piece on his neck, but I don't think it's a bad idea. Robert says, were the 60th numbered? No, they were not. So that was the upside of the 60th anniversary, was that they were not numbered and classified, which was good because for those completists, you didn't have to get it. However, they were still part of the classified series, so it's just kind of, it's kind of like, it's a little messy, it's a little all over the place, so kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. So yeah, so that was the Legacy series Firefighter. Don't have too much to say, but I guess a lot of most of the people in the chat did pre-order it, so that's cool. I mean, people have a certain attachment and nostalgic attachment to it. For me personally, it looked a lot like the Leonard Corpse figures, because if you remember back at Walmart or even Target in like 2007 or 8, maybe like even 2004, they used to have G.I. Joe figures in the you know, aisles celebrating like Spy Troops and Valor versus Venom, and then next to them they would have like Leonard Corpse figures. So, and Leonard corpse figures were a lot of times realistic figures with, you know, they weren't like sci-fi or futuristic characters. They were like police characters, cowboys, and all that other stuff. So, Wilfredo says, you know what, I would love to see a Legacy astronaut version of a figure, especially if they go out in detail. I mean, if you want an astronaut figure, there's a... check out on my SHARKNEWZ channel, or check the home feed. You'll see that there's a company called TNT Toys. They're doing a Zombies from Mars, something like that. They're doing astronauts, so you can literally pick up one of those. I mean, it has to be funded first because it's a Kickstarter, but it could definitely be beneficial. But yes, Zedburn says astronauts would be awesome. Yep, I agree. Alright, so that was the Legacy Series Firefighter. Pretty cool, but, you know, it wasn't for everyone, but most people had got them, so that's cool. MMA Panda says, I pre-ordered 3. I needed a firefighting team. Can't wait to see what's next. I mean, even then, the cool part is you can literally have Barbecue in the front and have, like, multiples of these guys in the background. And then you can also have Blowtorch. Well, no, Blowtorch is... well, I guess you can use Blowtorch. I don't know, but Barbecue, definitely you can have him lead the team of firefighters. That's for sure. Zombies from Mars look dope as hell. Yeah, they're pretty cool. So yeah, so that was the Legacy Series Firefighter. Dope figure. Not too much to say about it, but I like it. It's cool. Just not for everyone, but for those that got it, cool. Congrats, and happy you were able to get it. The next figure we're going to take a look at here is the Retro line, as the first figure we have here is Retro Flint. So welcome Retro Flint to the G.I. Joe Classified Retro Collection, because this was the Flint that basically everybody wanted from the beginning, despite my personal opinion thinking that the first version of Flint was still pretty good, despite people not really liking the, you know, like the shin guards and all that other stuff. But it was a cool update. It was a cool modern approach. However, this is the Flint that basically everyone wanted. So now that we got it, I will say that despite being a cool figure, the face is still not 100% there. Because if you look at Flint from the animated series, or even just comics for that matter, you can see Flint has a more masculine, muscular, rigid, rough, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a manly face. I feel like with these classified figures, a lot of their faces look more innocent. They're more younger. They look very... simple and just like aged a lot younger, if that makes sense. So it doesn't necessarily look as menacing as like how the cartoon face sculpt looks. However, I guess it's fine. It's just he just looks a little too young, if that makes sense. Benedict says pickup. His boots are better on the retro, says Robert. Todd C says, I wish they waited on retro Lady J. She still needs a better figure. I mean, to be quite honest, the retro Lady J wasn't that bad. I mean, her face was a lot better than the actual first release, that's for sure. I don't think it had most of it, sorry. Joshua says, Retro Shark for toys, SHARKNEWZ for modern toys, Shark Plays for video games, Shark Realm for Mortal Kombat, and Sharktoons for cartoons. I think... Oh, I have the Small Soldiers, but that's War for the Necron stuff. There's nothing happening with that right at the moment, so... But that's another one. That's a non-shark related channel. Shark Hub. Oh god. Very nice, Todd C. The first Flint face was done. I mean, that first face Flint was I guess it was fine. it had like more of a preppier haircut, I suppose. This one just looks, I don't know, there's just something about the face that I was like, odd. Let's see. And Mr. Sampson says pass. 34 likes. I don't even know how, but yeah, if you guys are here in the chat right now and you haven't or forgot to like the video, please do like the video. It will definitely help the channel grow, so thank you so much. Vulture says Shark King, that's what's up. Shark bow wow, chicka wow wow for other needs. I've always thought Hasbro messed up on most of the face sculpts. When I started collecting the classified, I would only buy the ones with helmets. I mean, some figures that have removable helmets definitely looked cool. It's just, I think the earlier versions kind of looked a little bit more detailed and more better. It's just like now that Classified has you know, created so many figures, changed manufacturers, and, you know, kind of produced more figures on a different scale, it just seemed more it just seems more apparent to me that they're not putting as much detail on the figures as much as the earlier versions, and that kind of is disappointing because it's kind of like a night and day difference, but it is what it is. The shotgun is definitely better than the first. Yeah, I mean, weapons, backpack, all that stuff, like the aesthetic of the figure is definitely cool. I just mean in terms of the way I always initialized the retro figures is like I never really wanted like a 6-inch version of the O-ring figure that's exact to the T. I always wanted, when they said retro and classified, I kind of wanted like what we see here, but just a little bit more oomph to it, like a little bit more pizzazz to kind of like spice it up a bit, not give us exactly how the old O-ring figure looked. And I think that's like my only issue with the retro figures. And then yeah, oh, I know you were kidding, Todd, don't worry, no worries. Russell Terrell, how's it going? Says it's been a while, I just signed on. Thank you so much for joining. How are you doing, brother? V. Anderson says ordered. Wilfredo says I will pick this version up, but I'm not in a rush. I do wonder why his gun holster is so thick and clunky looking. Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that. I don't know. Who knows? Elvin Martinez Jr., welcome. I think this is your first time in the chat, isn't it? Well, even if it's not, but still, welcome to the chat. Thank you so much for joining. Nerd Alert says Major Bludd is still yes, Major Bludd is still the best classified figure for sure. I honestly don't think that there's any I honestly don't think that there's any other classified figure right now that's better than Major Bludd. Russell Terrell says, why can't Hasbro reuse the Ron Ruda art for the retro collection instead of you know, that's a really good question. I honestly don't really know. It could be because some of the artwork that they used could be inspired by real life people, and it could lead to a possibly lawsuit or cease and desist or something. So it's very possible that they may have had to change the artwork just for the sake of you know, to not get in trouble, I suppose, because this new Flint artwork for the retro card art is just absolutely abysmal. It is terrible. But whatever the reason is, I don't know, unless they really just wanted to try something new, but it's a huge fail. And it's a good thing that I'm not an inbox collector, because I would rip open that packaging with my teeth and then you know, just display the figure next to all the retro ones that I have. Spirit is a really good figure too. I think Spirit's in my top 5. Elvin says, first time in your chat after your return. Yes, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you coming back. For those that don't know, Elvin has been one of the OG supporters on the channels, so he is no stranger to the shark army. Maybe they don't want to pay him. Yeah, it's possible they don't want to pay him. Yeah, I did see the Super 7 Wild Bill has an extra finger, which I thought was hilarious. I love the command hand too, but probably will pass on see the wild and spare. Yeah. Honestly, I personally don't like most of where Classified is heading in general. It's just, you know, it's kind of like some figures are just like a hit and miss for me. But yeah, so that was the retro Flint. Again, it's a good addition to the retro line. It's just there's something with the face that I'm not too thrilled about. However, just in general as a figure as a whole, it's a nice addition to it. But I still think that there's something about the original first version of Flint that has like, maybe if we I wonder if you can remove this head sculpt and then just put the original first Classified version Flint on this one. I think that would actually be really cool, because if that's the case and the ball joint or neck joint is the same, then that would actually, I think that would be more definitive for me. Zed Burns says, you look like Darth Shark tonight. You got a red lightsaber anywhere? Oh, boy do I. I was feeling a bit Darth tonight. But yes, I'm bringing out my inner Jedi spirits for tonight's stream. No, so Robert, the first one was not a Cobra Island Flint. It was just normal packaging, but it had a, it was released around the Cobra Island time frame. So if the first version Flint was Cobra Island, it would have easily been butt expensive. This one is too pretty boy. It needs to be more. Yeah, so what Vulture says, yeah, that's the word I was looking for, chiseled. Google, for those that don't remember, just Google Flint from the G.I. Joe cartoon and see how his face structure is compared to how these toys are being made, and you'll notice that the face is not up there. But for those that still just want it for the sake of wanting it, then, you know, that's cool. No issue there. Joshua says, I'm still in, but it's probably because Joe wasn't a big part of childhood. Toy collecting, so much of it is new to me. Well, and that's why we're all here to help you out, Joshua. Okay, that must be where I was confused. Yeah, all good, Robert. Alright, so that was Retro Flint, and I should have had a comparison with the original Flint, but I totally forgot about it, so maybe I'll do it at another time. It's okay. It's not, maybe I should check. No, I don't want, no, maybe, I don't want my computer to crash. So maybe in another stream, I'll definitely go over comparisons with these two, but it's okay. All right, so next, we're going to take a look at CoverGirl. What are your thoughts on this figure? Was it a pass? Did you buy one? Do you not need a blonde CoverGirl? Let me know how you guys think, or what you guys think. Vulture says first one was not Cobra Island, only Barbecue and Roadblock were. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that first Roadblock, yeah. The first Roadblock that everyone considered was heavy duty. Flint should be like Joe's Punisher, handsome but gritty, says Matt O'Toole. Welcome Matt O'Toole to the chat. Yes, you're absolutely right. That is a great way to put it. A gritty facial expression. Skyfall says, I got her. Robert says, pass. Benedict says, picked her up on sale. Well, no, Benedict says, pick up on sale for CoverGirl. Panda says, I pre-ordered 2. Joshua didn't order, but may cave when I see in the wild. I like the first one. Zedburn says, I'm getting her. BD Bonzi, welcome to the chat, says it's alright. V Anderson says, ordered. Lee 86, welcome to the chat, says the figure is money. Need this to swap bodies for Lady J. Oh, yeah, that could work. Good one. Instant Cop says Ionic Blood. Shout out to Ionic Blood. Zedburn says, I'm hoping the knees come out better on this figure than these pics. I don't think they posed it too well. The knees just look more standard, like a normal classified female figure, so I don't see anything wrong with it, at least. The cardboard Flint artwork looks like he's ready to give a vulture. Benedict, they're still using those terrible Lady J boots. I think... Is it the same Lady J boots? Because Lady J had a different arch from the top. I initially thought that it could have been, but it looks like they may have sculpted it differently. I don't think it's the Lady J boots, because if you look at the photo on the right, she has like these black straps on the back of the boot, and even her boots are black underneath the brown shin guards. So then I don't think the Lady J boots were similar to that style. I think this might be new boots for the female. I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure it's not the Lady J one. Ionic Blood says these are not the Lady J boots. Okay, so maybe I'm right, I guess. Mr. Samson says wait for it to hit Ross. Yeah, I think I mentioned it in my previous live stream that when it comes to the Joes, I will probably be very selective and like really not push into it. But when it comes to like the Cobras, I think I will probably focus more on building Cobras rather than getting the Joes. I feel like the Joes, there's really not that many, and there's gonna be like a buttload of variants for them. Whereas the Cobras, you can't have too many Cobras, at least in my opinion. Zedburn says they usually look narrow in all their pre-sale picks on most figures. Definitely not the same boots as Matt O'Toole. Alright, so I guess so most people are saying it's not the same, so I guess I was kind of right. I mean, initially in the beginning I thought they were her boots, but the more I look at it, they are different. But I think they're still using the Lady J. Was it the Lady J torso, like the undershirt, the beige undershirt, or was that the first CoverGirl undershirt as well? I'm not sure. I can't tell at the moment. I can't recall at the moment. Mr. Sampson comes with a very valid point. He says as soon as sales start to slide, they'll release Deep Six and Sci-Fi. I actually 100% agree with you on that one. I believe that right now they're just milking all the molds and characters of certain characters as much as they can to make money in order for them to give us like other characters that people really, really want. I mean, most did want a blonde CoverGirl. This was not really what I was expecting, but it's still cool for what it is. It's just one of those things where they're kind of double dipping on names for G.I. Joe and even Cobras when they're probably saying, oh, we don't have the money to tool new, figures for Cobra or even Joe, so let's give you another version of CoverGirl or another version of this and that, so we can kind of, grab the collectors by the cojones, and because they know like people will still buy it regardless. Robert says my focus is mostly Cobra Troopers. That's what's up. Lee says CoverGirl or Lady J. Are you asking me if I like CoverGirl or Lady J, or was there another part of that question that I missed? Roland Mack, welcome to the chat, says she's okay but not a must-have for me. Cobra Retro Cobra Troopers a pickup. CoverGirl is banging compared to the first one they put out. Juan with a J. Well, speaking of the first CoverGirl, this is why I like doing these streams, because here we have both CoverGirls in comparison. I've come prepared for this. So the reason I personally think that the first CoverGirl is still pretty good. I have no issues with it. I know a lot of people don't like the face sculpt, and it's a really terrible reuse of Lady J legs and stuff like that. However, the colors, the design of the first CoverGirl, even though she had the orange hair, I still think that one was still pretty good. It's just one of those things where yeah, so just by looking at the torso of the CoverGirls, it looks like it is the exact same shirt. I think so. I think it is the same exact shirt from the first version. So, but obviously different belts, different legs and thighs, different boots, at least from what I'm seeing. Obviously disregard the head sculpt. And I think the arms, oh yeah, the arms are definitely different because she has rolled up sleeves in the first version compared to this one. So, yeah. So to be quite honest, like, if I were to even buy this cover, because I have the first one, but if I were to ever get this second one, I would easily just, but look at it this way though. Compare even if people don't like the head sculpt of the first CoverGirl, look how good at least that detail looks on the first CoverGirl compared to the one on the left, the new one that came out, because that one looks, the retro one, that one looks too cartoony. It doesn't even look like a realistic approach to it, like how a lot of the other figures are. And I think that's why my happiness for Classified has scaled back a lot, is because the designs of the figures may be cool, but if the head sculpts are going from how the first CoverGirl looks more like womanly-esque real compared to this cartoon version with the big ass smile that looks more like an anime character, I don't see them being part of the same like collection or brand for that matter. Like, she even looks more cartoony than Glenda, if that makes sense. Glenda actually still had like an actual, despite Glenda having you know, a horrible face, at least Glenda kind of had a little bit more of a realistic approach to it, whereas this CoverGirl looks a little more cartoony to me. Roland Max says, I just got off work. All good, brother, but I do appreciate you for joining. First CoverGirl expression is bad. I mean, that's what most of the consensus is. A lot of people just didn't like the first CoverGirl face. But again, I liked it. I have no issue with it. Roland Max says, peg warmers. Yeah. That's true. That's true too. Because I don't know about all of your targets, but I know for my target, Retro, Duke, Scarlet, and Rakondo peg warmed like crazy. Retro, Beachhead, and Snow Serpent and Eel didn't necessarily peg warm, but they were there in my targets for quite some time. Not as long as Duke though. I feel like this CoverGirl's face sculpt, the new one, the retro one, can be in the same universe as Road Pig because they both have that same grinny, smiley face. It's cartoony, you know. Tidal Manashir says, I mean, these are the retros. They are calling back to the cartoons. But see, that's the thing that confuses me though, because if they're calling it retros, the retros need to look like how the original O-ring versions look. If they're scaling it or calling it back to the cartoon, then they should easily come up with another name for the Classified series, like the Sunbow editions or the cartoon versions, or, you know, because then that just mixes things up, because now the retros are basking in on the old O-ring versions and the cartoon. Like, you're mixing both different versions, because the O-ring G.I. Joe figures didn't look anywhere close to the cartoon figures, because the O-rings had their own like whatever style just by name. However, when you're mixing and matching the cartoon with the O-rings, that just kind of like defeats the purpose, because at least in my opinion, the retro card backs needs to pay homage to the old O-ring figures and then make it look as close as it can be. And then if they have like a subline for the cartoon, then if they said this was like a cartoon cover girl, then that would make sense. But to call it a retro cover girl, when you look at the old original O-ring cover girl, and that version was the one that you see on the right with the orange hair, then it honestly it gets very much confusing. So that's basically where my point is at. Roland says, I wish all the packages were still the same. Yeah, I agree. Joshua says, I never saw Retro Scarlet. I saw Duke 2 weeks in a row. Bought the last they had. Nice. Congrats. Johnny Reno, welcome to the chat, says, I've been saying it since the digital renders that Elsa's from Frozen, not CoverGirl. Oh yeah, she does look like Elsa. Transformers were even worse for not looking like the cartoon. I mean, I wish I had. I mean, I don't collect the Transformers, but I will. What do you call it? I will believe you on that one, Zed Burns, because even by looking at, this is not to segue slightly, but I see like a million different versions of Optimus Prime, and it's very hard for me to even figure out which version of Optimus Prime that they released out of the 500 versions that came out within 1 year is the definitive Optimus, or like the exact accurate cartoon. Because every Optimus Prime they come out with either has like shading on the windshield, or they're putting like dust and scratches on the body armor, or it's a different shade of blue. And I'm just like, dear Lord, like I would lose my damn mind. So yeah, that is CoverGirl. I think we milked her to death, no pun intended. So, but yeah, so that is CoverGirl. But cool. Oh yeah, so my point for CoverGirl was I would buy this retro CoverGirl and make her like another character in my head. I could care less if one is comic accurate or cartoon accurate or whatever, blonde hair or orange hair, I don't care. It's just good to have like another character in the line and call her like G.I. Joe Elsa. That would be funny. So yes, that is CoverGirl. Up next, let's take a look at TELEVIPER. What do you guys think about TELEVIPER? Was it a pass? Did you buy it? Do you already have the Trouble Bubble? Do you not have the Trouble Bubble and prefer this version over that one? You let me know. Zed Burns says there's a million Transformers toys these days. Yeah. So many. Roland Max says, I do like how easy it is to get most figures instead of when they first came out. Yeah, I'll give them credit for that, Roland. Yeah, so you're right on that one. Joe Barrett says, love the TELEVIPER, I ordered 3. Nerd Alert says, I need both. Laughing emoji. Ionic Blood says, I wish they gave him different expressions. I'll be getting a few, says Skyfall. Also, if you haven't liked this video, please go ahead and do so. It'll definitely help with the algorithm, so hit that like button. I will greatly appreciate that. Looks dope. Oh, I already read that. I read that already. Joshua says, I have the Trouble Bubble and Python Patrol, but still ordered this one. That's cool. I mean, if you're buying like one of each, I guess that makes sense. Elvin says, I have a couple. Picked one up for the new head sculpts. Yeah, can't go wrong with that. TELEVIPER looks good. Already got 2 Televipers, so I only need 1 retro, says Rachel. Wilfredo says, I will buy 1 since I already own 2. Only wish they had different head sculpts. Welcome to the chat, Migs Big the Fun Man. I think this is your first time on the chat, I believe. He says, I bought 3 Trouble Bubbles just to get the 3 Televipers. The new one is a solid retro, but the one that came out with the Trouble Bubble is more modern, more appealing because of the 3 different head sculpts. Mix Big, I hope you stay I hope you stay for the chat, because the next picture we're gonna look at is something right up your alley in your comment. So we'll get to your statement in a bit. Joshua says the readout display is what sold me. Yeah, I mean, I think my only issue with the visor was that or maybe the text for me personally just wasn't as thick or bold as I wanted it to be, but it's okay. I mean, that's just nitpicking a little too hard. Ionic says, I will make him the lead Televiper. Yeah, can't go wrong with that. Odds Mods, welcome to the chat. I believe this is your first time here as well in this chat. So it says, what's up, Shark? Nice to have a live stream to listen to while I work. Hope you're doing well. I hope my live stream does not distract you while you're working, Oddsmod, but I'm very grateful that you are listening to the chat. So thank you so much, and shout out to you as well. Just don't get in trouble. Joe Barrett says, FYI, the Dragonfly is up on Big Bad Toy Store. Last I looked up, there were 5 left out of over 20. I think the Big Bad Toy Store Dragonfly HasLab was $400 and something. So if anybody wants to spend $400 on a HasLab Dragonfly on Big Bad Toy Store, Joe Barrett says there's like 5 left out of 20. So if you have that extra chunk of cash, well, Russell Terrell says sold out, so never mind. Disregard, abort. Russell Terrell says $429. Damn, Odds Mods is his own boss. That's what's up. There you go. Shout out to Odds Mods. He's his own boss. So the real topic for Televiper that I want to get into, which was what Migs Big the Fun Man has said, is about the detail comparison between the retro version and the original Trouble Bubble version. And by looking at both figures in comparison, what do you guys think is the better version of the classified Televipers? Because if you were to look at the torso piece for Televiper, you can see that there's more purple padding on the stomach area. The big takeaway here is not just the pale white base sculpt compared to the retro version that has more of a, I guess, wash to it that makes it more the skin tone a little bit more I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? It has more color to it. You know, like, it doesn't look as pale as the original version, but they gave him long black sleeves because it does come with an alternate head sculpt with a different skin tone, whereas the retro one, you can't obviously have a different skin tone head with white arms, so then that would be funny and defeat the purpose. So my only consensus with this Televiper is that I have a very, very solid feeling that we may get one more Televiper, and it could be a black skin version of a Televiper, because this one is just all white because you can't utilize the head sculpt. And we've seen the Vipers come out with different skin tones as well. So and then of course, if people want to army build Televipers, it would make more sense for them to re-release it with a different skin tone. And the alternate head sculpt on the Trouble Bubble version with the black face sculpt, or like the mask helmet version, that one looks really sick. I actually like that one, and I have that version displayed on my shelf compared to the white or black head sculpt. So but again, you can see that aside from the torso piece, he does have some gauntlets on his wrists. The belts are also a bit different. He seems to have a little bit more, I think it's the same bottom half, just more of a vibrant, darker purple. But yeah. Retro is Casual Friday TeleViper. Casual Friday. The body of blue is really different, but the head's not so much. If I look at the heads really closely, I think I keep saying Teletubby. The Trouble Bubble version has more of a arch on his lip on the left side. I could be mistaken. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is the same, but I think it's a subtle lip change. I'm not too sure. I'm just gonna end up calling him Teletubby Viper. Zedburn says the Trouble Bubble version is out in the Field Trooper. I mean, that makes sense, yeah, because he's out there. This one, because he has the text on his visor, he obviously will stay more indoors in the Cobra headquarters because he's going to be more on the computer. So Zed Burns, that was actually a very good observation, so thank you for enlightening me with that one, because that actually slipped my mind. So Zed Burns cracked the code on this one, so thank you so much for that. Makes 100% sense to me, so case closed. Migs Big says the one with the Trouble Bubble is more modern looking and it has 3 different face sculpts for different variation. What I like about the retro one is the text on the goggles. Yep. That is basically the main highlight for that one, is because the text, because that's very an iconic trope to the character, because every time a TeleViper came on screen in the cartoon, he always looked up at the screen and you see the word alert go through the visor or some other text going through. So it's such an iconic design to it. And he's the only character, I think, in the cartoon where every time he looked up at the computer screen, the text would fly across, because he was usually by the computer. So Elvin Martinez says it will be a shame if the blues on the head sculpts don't match. I don't think they match though, because the retro version has more of a brighter royal blue compared to the Trouble Bubble version, which is more of a muted, darker blue. I could be wrong, because again, these are like photography photos and the lighting could be different, but I think just like the Cobra Trooper, I think the blues are different on both of these, so I don't think it's going to match. Russell Terrell says, do you think it would be better to have 6 to 8 goggles with each having different displays instead of having full head sculpts? It's not a bad idea. The only issue with that is if Hasbro's quality sucks on the straps of the goggles, then people will most likely be snapping or breaking those off, and that would not be good. But it's not a bad idea. It could work. John Reno says the retro Teletubby uses the same molded blue plastic as the retro. Yes. So John Reno is correct on that one. At least, even just based on the photos that we see here on the screen, I think it looks roughly like that. Because I have a very hard time putting the goggles on the Vipers. Like, the Vipers have such a big dome that in order for me to stretch the goggles over their heads, I fear of it snapping off. So that's why, as a good of idea it is to have different goggles to go with it to save time, it's just the chances of it breaking is very likely. The one with the virtual reality headset, I think it will also fit on the retro one for more different variations. Gucci Nene says most of the backpacks don't even work well. Okay, I'm gonna say something that a lot of you may not like, but I am really not a fan of the G.I. Joe classified backpacks. A lot of them just don't peg on very well. The one for, what's his name? The Cobra Eel, or even Torpedo, abysmal. Like, they just keep falling off. Some of them are okay, but it's just, they're not as good as they should be. But yeah, so that is the TeleViper. Not too much to say there, other than we got what we pretty much came for. So again, I have a feeling that we may see another version down the line with a different skin tone at some point, because there's no way Hasbro would just focus on a white skin tone TeleViper knowing that the original version came with a different head sculpt. So maybe 2026, we'll see what happens with that. Only time will tell. So that is Teletubby. All right, up next, let's take a look at the mass device breaker. What do you guys think about this figure? Was it a pass? Was it a buy? Did it sell out before you even got to it? Joe Bits, welcome to the chat. Did you write in here before? I don't remember, but welcome to the chat, Joe Bits. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this figure first, and then I will share my thoughts on it. Roland Max says sold out. Oh man. Russell Terrell says, dude, I wanted that one, lost my chance, hope they put more up again. I hope so. It's Target, man. Target sucks so much ass. The chances of Target, I think at this point, the only way to get this figure at this point is possibly finding it at a Target store, because you know how much Target sucks when it comes to the only way, I feel like we've seen Target figures go in and out at some point, but it's my bad. It's just gonna not work. Terrible release and communication by Target. I mean, to be quite honest, Roland Mac, we should all expect this from Target at this point. We know Target gives two shits about toys or even figures in general. And again, this goes back to earlier in the stream. Hasbro didn't even tell, like, again, this is because of Toy Fair. The people who were at Toy Fair were the one breaking the news, saying that the this breaker figure will be going up for pre-order whenever that day was. And I'm over here thinking, where the hell is Hasbro with their announcement telling you that this figure is going up for pre-order? So not only did Hasbro have poor communication and not tell collectors that this figure was going up, because I guess they relied on collectors to, or even YouTubers to spread it word to mouth. The thing that sucks more is that this figure actually, again, like I mentioned earlier in the stream right in the beginning, this stupid figure went up for pre-order at freaking 6 in the morning. Who the hell is going to check Target.com at 6 in the morning? I was lucky enough to even be up at that point. Don't even ask me why. I was just up, and I posted it on my community tab page, and I was happy for those who were able to get it, but Hasbro was freaking dead silent. They didn't even do shit about this figure. And then I didn't see my email till like 2 or 3 p.m. And then Hasbro was like, oh, do you want your breaker? Go to HasbroPulse.com. And then you go there and it's already sold out. And I'm just like, you guys suck at marketing these damn figures. I mean, sometimes they do really well, but when it comes to this, more than like 70% of collectors had no idea these figures were going up for pre-order. Unless like you're watching like other YouTubers who are like at Toy Fair, or watching you know, all this, like those who are like in the loop or something. It just, they were the ones dropping the news saying this figure is going out for pre-order. And you know, sometimes they could be a little sketchy where you're just like, oh, I don't know if I believe you, but according to word of mouth, you know, people were just saying it's coming out. So Elvin says premium members sold out. The Fun Man says new breaker is much better than the one that came with the RAM cycle. Big Man, or Big Fun Man, you know exactly where I'm going with this. Ionic Blood says minus the vest, he looks like the cartoon version. I'm digging it. Oh, so that's a really good statement from Ionic Blood. So I want to share my 2 cents of this. I don't know if you guys will agree with me on this one, but let me know if you disagree or agree. It's cool if you disagree, but in my latest SHARKNEWZ video, people were telling me that this is not a retro breaker, parentheses, quote unquote, whatever. This is not a retro breaker because it's mass device breaker. Now, the thing that's confusing, at least in Hasbro's dumb world, is how are you going to put a retro-looking breaker as a mainline release and then call it a regular breaker when it looks like a retro version? So does that mean, because we know that not every version is going to come out in a retro version, but does that mean that we're going to get at least one more version of this figure on a retro card back when this figure is as retro-y as it gets, even if you compare it to the retro rock and roll figure? I mean, to me, it honestly just makes zero sense. I mean, it's personally, I would say this is a retro breaker, even if it says mass device classified series mainline release, but it's technically a retro figure. It looks and it feels like a retro figure. So so why is this figure a mainline release? And this same goes for the Major Bludd figure. People were telling me in my comment section, oh, Full Force was saying that it's a mainline release and not a retro figure. But if Major Bludd comes back out and he has the cartoon accurate color schemes, or he comes with the classic blue, gray, and brown outfit, then that's technically a retro cartoony Major Bludd, right? So if he's in a mainline release, sure, he's part of a mainline wave, but he has the retro color scheme, so then we can't call him a retro Major Bludd figure. Well, like, what the hell is Hasbro even doing? Who's coming up with this idea? Like, this figure right here that we see should easily become a retro figure, but now people are associating this to be a mainline a mainline breaker, but he's not retro, but he's wearing the retro outfit. So how does that make sense? Toys. I believe it might come back. It was Johnny Reno says I pre-ordered the second it went live. That's what's up. Congrats. Russell Terrell says, hell, I'm letting my dog out and getting dressed to go to work for a living. That's funny. Breaker will be a peg warmer by July. Just wait till then. I mean, yeah, a lot of Target figures have become peg warmers for sure. Or it could go on sale. I've given up on some of these pre-orders for the same reason, man, says Odds Mods. Ionic Blood says it's like the Transformers run amok and roundabout, Target blows. They do. Elvin says, I believe it might come back up. Long Haul and Hook sold out a few days ago. They sold out and it was, yeah, I mean, I do believe that it's going to come out. It's going to come in and out of stock. But the point is like, the whole point of it going in and out of stock is communication. If Hasbro is not communicating with their fans, if Target's not communicating with the collector fan base, then it's just putting unnecessarily, you know. So according to what the chat is saying, it's most likely, you know, we could be getting another version of Retro Breaker because he wears the green outfit and not this gray version. So that makes more sense. Thank you, Rachel, for that enlightenment. Again, I'm not a perfect OG what do you call it? Super duper GI Joe guru, but I just share my opinion. So when I read your chats and stuff and I get corrected, I appreciate that. So thank you, Rachel. And thank you to Russell Terrell for telling me about the darker green version with no computer flip down display. Ionic Blood says, I believe this should be called the Sunbow Breaker. Yeah, that makes sense. Retro Breakers should be green. Okay, makes sense. I'll accept it. Joshua says, I just think of retro as a code for Walmart exclusive. Yeah, that's true too. But the problem with Walmart exclusive is that I don't see any... My Walmarts that I have near me, which are like 3 to 4, no, sorry, most likely 3, none of them carry GI Joes anymore. So at this point, it's just BS exclusives. It's not even Walmart anymore. Russell Terrell says the next big thing is that Hasbro has to come out with a full-size mass device. I 100% agree because we still have some other figures to go. But I want to quickly go over the comparisons between the first two breakers. Excuse me. So here we have the first Cobra Island breaker, who looks like Jake Gallagher in the hall, and then we have the mass device breaker in the gray uniform. So as I stand corrected, again, I like to be proven wrong. So thank you for those who corrected me on this one. I don't feel bad for what I said. I appreciate for people being very honest and kind when I'm wrong. And I will accept my, what do you call it? My defeat on this one because Retro Breaker should be green. So my rant was kind of irrelevant, but it's okay. I was just stating my random 2 cents opinions, but now based on what everyone is saying that the Retro Breaker should be green, I suppose this makes sense. But so maybe we could be getting another version of Breaker at this point. However, I think either versions work. I think that the legs on the Cobra Island breaker are kind of flimsy and they're too skinny, and he doesn't really stand too well. I mean, he stands fine, but it's just his legs are way too skinny with that bulkier vest. Ionic Blood says, does this make the Ram Cycle breaker retro? My brain. Or sadly, no, because the Ram Cycle version is considered the classified Cobra Island, like updated modern version of breaker. It has the classic breaker colors, I suppose, but it's not the wait, for those who remember from the animated series, can someone help me out here? What color did Breaker wear? No, I'm just gonna Google it. Shoot, I'm trying to, cause hold on, I gotta look this up now. Now this is confusing me. GI Joe Breaker cartoon. Okay, so okay, hold on. The traditional Breaker from the comics, if you guys see from the camera here, this Breaker was green. So this is like comic O-ring version. And then if we look at the cartoon version of Breaker, we have this gray version, which is what we see here on the right. So that basically means Hasbro is super duper, as the guy yells at George Costanza and Seinfeld, you double dip the chip. Hasbro is double dipping the chip with these figures and their color palettes, because now they're heading into comic. I'm sorry, they're heading either a comic, O-ring, or a cartoon. This, oh, man, this is getting overwhelming because now it's like. So I apologize for my little rant earlier. So I will take 100%. I will own up to it that I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did not. That slipped my mind. So this is a cartoon breaker. It's not. Retro breaker has to be green. So I guess I was kind of in the right mindset, just I didn't fully grasp the two different color schemes, because honestly I literally forgot about cartoon characters and their outfits, because I'm literally comparing it to the original like O-ring versions, and like I'm literally forgetting about this stuff. So my brain, I'm getting like freaking shark farts at this point. The breaker was green in the cartoon, says Zed. In the cartoon, he was gray. Gray, yes. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate that. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. But it's cool. Here on the SHARKNEWZ channel, as Bob Ross says, we don't make mistakes. We make happy accidents, or something like that. So let's move on before I embarrass myself even more. All right, so the next figure let's take a look at here is Snake Eyes with the polar bear. Now, this is where the biggest shebang happened within the collectors. The issue that people had was not the fact that we got another Snake Eyes. It was not the fact that we got a cool looking polar bear, which I thought needed a little bit more color because of, I get it's a polar bear, but a little shading wouldn't have killed him. The thing that made people a little bit wowed is the fact that this pack was like $60. This is a very, very good indication of Hasbro being greedy. Hasbro assuming that collectors are sheep and they will just buy everything. I mean, if you bought it, like, that's cool, but for $60 to get a repaint of a figure and a polar bear, this thing is not worth more than $50. I understand it's just an extra $10, but dear Lord, an additional $40 would head you up to a freaking vamp price. So if you paid an additional $40, this polar bear is as equivalent to a freaking vamp, which cost $100, or even a stinger. So could it possibly mean that Hasbro has become so greedy to the point that that now these animals are becoming as pricier and as high and steep for vehicles? Because I was just baffled by it. I'm just like, $60, like that is a no. That's a no. I don't care how much of a deep cut it is. I don't care how much of a cartoon accurate Snake Eyes this is. I don't even care how cool the polar bear is, but $60, like that's a no. That's a no. Ionic Blood says, I'm a sheep for Hasbro, not gonna lie. Hey man, that's cool. Like, if you want to buy it because you like it, that's totally fine. I'm not capping on you guys for buying it. I'm just saying, in my personal belief system of money versus value, or like what I'm getting my money's worth, I don't know how many collectors actually display the animal. Like if it's Snake Eyes and Timber, sure, but I don't know how many collectors actually have like Fiona with them. I don't know how many collectors are putting other animals with their collection, but this polar bear, like I said, it's a deep cut. Unless you really liked that episode, that's cool, but I don't know. Let's see here. Matanga Studio, welcome to the chat. I believe this is your first comment here. Says GI Joe the mess device. Oh, that's pretty hilarious. Hard pass says Robert Wantland. Russell Terrell says nice but pass. Rachel says I don't need another Snake Eyes, but the polar bear is tempting. Migs says Hasbro's killing it with the animals. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they are sculpting the animals really well. The animals are freaking awesome. It's just the price point is insane. Because realistically, this Snake Eyes is like a $25 figure. So we're like the other $40 is the polar bear. So Iron Blood says $35 for a bear and $25 for a Snake Eyes. Robert says I display all the animals. Okay, that's awesome. Super dope though. Gucci Claw is $65.99. Elvin says another sheep here. Oh man, maybe that terminology was wrong. I apologize. But I'm just saying, like, I think Hasbro was really testing the market with this one, because I think they were just trying to say, hey, let's see how many people would actually buy it for $60. Because the more people who buy it for $60 only will convince Hasbro in the future to go even steeper. Because if collectors kind of stand up and be like, bro, your prices are too high, I'm not buying this, how does haggling really work? You try to make the opposite side come down on price and be like, okay, you're twisting my arm, you can get it for a cheaper price. So I think the fact that people did buy it for $60 will only tell Hasbro that, hey, if they bought this for $60, maybe they'll buy Deep Six with his shark for $80. I mean, that's a really cool character, so maybe that's a probably poor example, but whatever other animal that comes out in the future, like Desert Scorpion with this giant ass scorpion, maybe that's going to be like a $65 figure. $64.99 plus tax. That's crazy. I really wouldn't be surprised. Okay, in that case, unfortunately, Matanga Studio says the claw is going to be $100. That's going to be insane. I mean, to be quite honest, when I saw the Cobra claw at the toy fair on the display, that shit looked really cool though. But for $100, because that claw vehicle is not, to me personally, it's not as equivalent as a Stinger or Vamp, so it should not be $100. Again, that's if it is $100, that's Hasbro telling people, hey, you know, this little jetpack or this long jetpack that this figure is coming with is as equivalent to a vehicle, like a you know, Stinger or Vamp. So I'm just trying to look at it from a different perspective, not so much as a fan of like, oh, I really want this vehicle, because who wouldn't want these cool vehicles? It's just one of those things where, does the price justify for what you're getting? Like, realistically speaking, would you guys really pay $40 for this polar bear? Like, let's say you disregard Snake Eyes. If they just released this polar bear as a something, like, would you guys buy a polar bear for $40? Deep Six, like the old Deep Six, would be expensive figures. I'd expect it with a shark would be cool. I would find it really funny if Hasbro actually, like, Hasbro needs to has to wink at the camera when they say Deep Six and a shark. Unless they you know, totally look over it. Roland Mac says, I learned my lesson with Hasbro, wait for it to go on sale. So Roland Mac does come with a very interesting point. The deluxe figures do go on sale, but that's where some collectors argue with other collectors, because in order for G.I. Joe Classified to keep going and thriving, you kind of have to buy these things at full price in order for Hasbro to realize, okay, like, people want this, we're making money, we can use that money to make more figures. If these figures go on sale, they go discounted, they're at Ollie's or Ross or whatever, Hasbro loses money, and then eventually Classified will either skimp out on detail, they'll skimp out on quality, and then maybe Classified will get canceled in the next like 10 years because people are all waiting for it to go on sale, and then Hasbro is not making the money that they should. And then it's such a damn tricky business situation, because it's either damned if you do or don't at this point. So Roland Mac says $90 to $80 for the Cobra Claw, $100 for the Claw, which shut down. Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, if they charge $100 for the Cobra Claw, like, people need to really step up and, you know, kind of stand their ground and be like, no, I'm not paying freaking $100 for this. Like, you guys are freaking out of your minds. Like, if the figures are, if the quality has improved on Classified, if the weapons aren't like gummy, if they're not gooey, if you know, they're not warped, or if the quality on the figure is improving over time, then maybe I can say, okay, the price may justify for it. But if the quality is not improving on the figures, and you're still getting warped accessories, and you're still getting like discolored elbow joints and knee joints, then why are you paying a higher price for these figures when you're not getting better quality for it? It's like, I feel like that's kind of a terrible trap for collectors. So Gucci says, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's past $60. Yeah, I honestly don't think, I mean, because if you look at, again, if you look at the pictures of the Cobra Claw, it looks really good. So it definitely won't be anything less than $50, that's for sure. Because 50 is a little too low balling because of how good it looks. And again, I'm just trying to figure it out, because the Viper 3-pack was $90 when it first came out. The Crimson 3-pack, I believe, was also $90 when it came out. God knows how much the freaking Cold Slither 4-pack is going to be, because that shit is just like, it's freaking a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And I know not everyone's going to buy it, but holy shit, like, I cannot wait to see what that price is going to be, because I feel like we're all going to have a field day on that one. Serpentor was $75, but was an exclusive. I mean, I've talked about this before on my previous live streams and even on the previous channels. Making Serpentor a freaking exclusive with the Air Chariot, I guess, makes sense, but that was really not the way to go. And same with Dr. Mindbender. That was terrible. The Fun Man says, Hasbro knows that their market for the Classified series is mostly adult, so they jack up the price, and we are willing to pay for it, even if expensive. I mean, that's true. That's the problem, because if collectors stand up and say we're not going to buy it, then there's a very high risk and high chance of Hasbro shutting down Classified too, because they're not making their profits or they're not making their money. So unless collectors do spend that full price, that's going to keep Classified afloat, and then we can finally get figures. If every single collector waits for it to go on sale, Hasbro is going to lose mad buttload of money, and then it's going to get to them at a point where they're not going to be able to either provide the characters that we want or the quality that we want. And then at some point within the next 10 years, if everyone waits for it to go on sale, then Classified could be canceled. So we've seen how it is with Star Wars and how people complain about Star Wars so many times. We've seen all the people complaining about Marvel Legends and that what is it, that maximum something Spider-Man, $50 for an extra 2 hands Spider-Man. Like, and I don't want to like switch over topics real quick, but when I was looking at the maximum profit Spider-Man from Marvel Legends and seeing how the Marvel Legends fans were going apeshit over that, that could similarly be the same thing with Classified, because that's literally, I mean, I'm not a Marvel Legends collector, so I can't speak on behalf of like articulation or what kind of buck they use for it or whatever, but the fact that people are willing to pay $50, you know, for a figure that they already like own and it's like same body, same whatever, because, you know, Marvel figures are supposed to be like tights, right? So you can't really expect them to be like classified detail. But people were willing to pay $50 for it. And then that's telling the Marvel Legends team, hey, people are willing to spend $50 on the same body Spider-Man that we've released 1,000 times already, and just with 2 extra hands. And then the YouTuber saying like, oh, we can buy it, then like that's telling them, hey, we can jack up the prices even more. And that's what makes it scary, because how far are they willing to go and make us spend our hard-earned money on these figures? Whereas if they lower the price, then God knows what's going to happen with Classified. So let's read the comments now. Ionic Blood says Serpentor, oh wait, was worth it, no regrets. I mean, Serpentor was a freaking awesome figure though. Alright, I'm catching up with the chat, give me a second here. A $25 polar bear, Claws that has lab for this year, $350, no way Claws $100, says Toy Odyssey, welcome to the chat. If a bear and figure is 65, Claw is going to be no less than 89. Claw will most likely be 55 to 66. Rachel says if they slapped a G.I. Joe logo on a skunk and charged $40, I would buy it. That's funny. But wouldn't be surprised if it's up past 60. The snake, oh my god, don't even get me started on the snake armor. Holy shit. We'll get to the snake armor in another live stream. We'll rant about that like later. I think the $65.99 Snake Eyes polar bear is the hint. If the claw comes with a figure, I'd say $70 is a sweet spot. We don't need this figure, honestly. I wouldn't mind the polar bear with an Arctic Joe like Avalanche or Windchill. Well, the reason, Benedict, the reason why this figure came with the polar bear was because it was from the cartoon. There was like that scene in the cartoon where Snake Eyes was holding the mass device element, and this polar bear came and started attacking him and shit. So it's like a deep cut reference to like an episode in the cartoon, so makes sense why they would do it. Alright, so Cold Slither at least 120. That's gonna be freaking steep. Oh, shout out to A Romo. My apologies, brother. I knew you were in the chat. I forgot to say what up. Thank you for joining the chat, so thank you. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. I was speaking my mind here. The point is how many people pay for maximum Spidey. We don't know. Low volume sales. Welcome Zartanicus back to the chat again. Low volume sales at high price. I got a Secret War Spider-Man. That's the only one I need. Cold Slither would be $100. I don't know, because you're getting 4 figures now. I don't know if $100. I think 120 might be the sweet spot. Well, while we're on the topic of Snake Eyes, I want you guys to take a look at this, because it wouldn't be a fun stream without doing the usual shark tactic here. And by the way, shout out to everybody in the chat right now, and thank you so much for engaging in this chat, because regardless whatever our opinions are for these figures and whatever, we're all here to have a good time. We're all here to enjoy it and just have fun collecting classified. So don't take whatever I say seriously. I just like to speak my mind because, you know, I have a microphone, but that's why I read all your chats, because everybody has a valid opinion and people can agree and disagree, and that's what makes us a very what you call it, a very positive channel because we're all here, we're all friends, we're all piggybacking off each other's comments and being respectable and being honest about our opinions on it. So that's what makes the chat awesome. So shout out to everybody who is in the chat right now and those that are watching. Even if you're not typing in the chat, I still thank you for watching too. Mr. Sampson says, I'm pretty much done with classified, looking forward to the mask figures and future Super 7 O-rings. Hasbro has taken the joy out of collecting. Do you guys agree with Mr. Sampson there? And to be quite honest, Mr. Sampson is not really that wrong though. BD Bonzi says 100% Mr. Sampson. Tatsi says we frenemies here. Very true. Alright, so I want you guys to take a look at this. Tell me what you guys think about I had fun doing this. Look at all these snake eyes. This is where we are in classified, folks. If you exclude like the minor variants of like the snake eyes with the red head and like the red dot and whatever, we are this far deep in snake eyes at the moment. I apologize if it looks a little bit sloppy, but we have the Fortnite snake eyes on the left. We have the first release snake eyes next to him. Well, I'm starting from left to right. The original, first version of Snake Eyes, and then we have the 0-0 Snake Eyes, which is the first ever Snake Eyes that started classified. And then we have the Snake Eyes Origins movie Snake Eyes, which is a fine figure, but the fact that he only wore this damn outfit in the last 30 seconds in the movie pissed me off so much. Then we have the Polar Bear Snake Eyes, which we just talked about, which is part of the mass device. Then we have the Alpha Commando Snake Eyes. And then we have the... I forgot what that Snake Eyes was called. It was the other version with Timber, with the brown pants. I forgot the name of that one. And then we have the Retro Snake Eyes. And then we have the Butter Pecan Snake Eyes, which is a desert something Snake Eyes. I forgot the actual name. And if you guys look at the website yojo.com, oh yeah, and thank you for reminding me, Benedict. Version 4 Snake Eyes has been announced, so we are getting one more Snake Eyes. So the version 4 Snake Eyes is coming. So there goes another Snake Eyes added to this list. I should have waited, but whatever. Now you guys got an idea. So if you look at yojo.com, there's like, I think over 50 or 60 versions of Snake Eyes. It's insane, and we're only this far deep into it. So God knows how far Hasbro is going to milk the hell out of this damn Snake Eyes, dude. I mean, you might as well give us Christmas versions of it. Give me a red and green Snake Eyes candy cane color with like a, like a Santa hat. That would be really cool. I wouldn't mind. Zedburn says Cold Slither will be 150 due to the deluxe packaging. That's also, that could be possible. Gives you a different perspective seeing all the money invested in one figure, says Elvin. Very true. And I don't even consider Snake Eyes even popular or a main character. Hurricane Live, welcome to the chat. I believe this is your first comment here. Thank you so much for joining. Need that Boy George Snake Eyes. Yeah, we could get one more Snake Eyes where he's dancing. So with the blonde hair. I like that one too. What did Mr. Sampson say? I think I'm the only one who likes the Desert Commander Snake Eyes. The Man in Black. Christmas Snake Eyes on the Christmas ferret. A Romo says no more Snake Eyes for the next 2 years. Halloween Snake, yeah, Snake Eyes with a pumpkin head, why not? Rachel says Snake Eyes is the Spider-Man of G.I. Joe. Ooh, bold statement from Rachel. I mean, I'm trying to remember. The popularity of Snake Eyes just kind of, like, I think it's the fact that he just doesn't talk. His face is demorphed, and then he's like a ninja, and then like he's a badass in stealth. I think that just makes people feel like he's like a one-man army, you know? Whereas the other G.I. Joe characters are just like standard dudes with beards and wearing green suits with grenades and guns and stuff. So Snake Eyes kind of gives you that karate, like 80s element to it. So Zedburn says I'd buy a retro card back version 2. Snake Eyes in the Coal Minerals glove on a pole match. I mean, Hurricane does make a good point. What if we get another Snake Eyes where we see his blonde hair and his one eye popping out and like his demorphed face? We could get a head sculpt of that. That could be an exclusive. God knows. Version 3 Snake Eyes next year. Mark my words, says Ionic Blood. Yeah, why not? Todd C says Sunbow cartoon was the only one with the balls to sideline Snake Eyes. Fun fact. Thank you so much, Todd C. When I did my G.I. Joe cartoon review, I came to a conclusion. After watching the entire series, they barely showed Snake Eyes in that cartoon. And the fun fact is, Snake Eyes didn't even fight Storm Shadow in the original cartoon, which I thought was completely mind-boggling. I was like waiting for episodes where Snake Eyes would have an interaction with Storm Shadow, and he didn't. I thought Snake Eyes would actually have more of a pivotal role in the cartoon. He actually didn't. He barely shows up in the whole entire, what was it, 2 seasons, 3 seasons of that G.I. Joe Sunbow cartoon. I was shocked to see his popularity was so high for a character that barely was even in the cartoon. So there's a fun fact for you. Zedburn says Snake Eyes helicopter crash version. Possible, yeah. But yeah, so that is Snake Eyes, all the Snake Eyes. I will definitely come back to this little image in the future because we're going to update it with the version 4 Snake Eyes 2. Todd C says they did him dirty and the Sunbow gave his woman to Duke. Yeah, I mean, even then people were always like, oh, Snake Eyes and Scarlet were like the ultimate love love duo, and then in the cartoon Duke was macking all over Snake Eyes at that point. So, and Snake Eyes really, you barely see any scenes with Snake Eyes and Scarlet, so you're just like, holy shit. Solo Sinner, what's up? Welcome to the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, Solo Sinner has always been a great supporter to any of the channels, so he's an OG original to the chat. So welcome, thank you so much for joining. Creeping in all you want, brother. It's all good. Something about Boba Fett. He's G.I. Joe's Boba Fett. Oh man. Mandalorian. Okay, but so yeah, so we'll come back to the Snake Eyes is at some point in the future once the version 4 figure comes out. Alright, so up next we're gonna quickly take a look at the latest pre-order that's coming up this Thursday, Thursday, whatever, I don't remember. The latest reveal right now has been the G.I. Joe classified Crystal Ball figure, which is a Walmart CollectorCon exclusive. Whenever the hell March 13th is. Is that this Thursday? I forgot. So this dang figure will be going up for pre-order I believe 10 a.m. on Walmart's CollectorCon's website, as well as Hasbro Pulse, because usually I believe it's also Hasbro Pulse as well. So the thing about this, hold on, Mr. Madgus, welcome to the chat. Thank you so much for joining. You're absolutely welcome, Solo Sinner. Well, thank you, Solo Sinner, for like the amazing channel donations you did back on the previous channels. Those were such an honor, so thank you so much. I will never forget that. So 7 a.m. Pacific, right? The thing about Crystal Ball is that the original O-ring figure, obviously, like, it sucks. It's a cool figure, but it's like, what the hell is this figure anyway? I have to give credit where it's due, because Hasbro really did a pretty good job with this figure. A lot of people might not be into that whole mystical, translucent green spell magic, whatever hell you want to consider it, but holy shit, if I didn't say that that green skull tentacle horn mask and like the orb and then that sword, it is so freaking cool, man. Like they made me bow down to it. I was like, that is freaking awesome. As much as you may not like Crystal Ball as a character or even his design, you kind of have to admit that this is a perfect example of taking a pretty shitty looking character and really vamping him up into something that's really awesome. I mean, let alone that, you know, the fur coat is cool, the pants are fine, like the boots or whatever, and like the face sculpt with the vampire-esque teeth is cool, but he's kind of like a mix between Ra's al Ghul from Batman and like Doctor Strange, you know? So from Marvel. All good, Russell. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate it. Have a good night. The alternate head is the main reason why I want it. Yeah, I mean, that alternate head sculpt, the sword, all that stuff is really cool. And to be quite honest, like, I don't even care that he doesn't even come with like additional hands or like more like regular weapons per se, but the fact that he just has this cool mystical sorcery, like Quan Chi from Mortal Kombat vibe, and you're just like, wow, like that's really cool. Ionic Blood says they nailed the look. I'll buy Crystal Ball because of the 1987 lineup. Glow in the dark pieces, yeah, that too. I mean, think about the photography that the collectors are gonna do. That's what makes it even awesome. The green head comes from Fresh Monkey. But yeah. So what I'll do is I will try my best to post the links for those that want it in my community tab page. Again, I believe it's only going to be Walmart's website and Hasbro Pulse. So as I said in my shorts video, the Shark Shorts, I don't think this figure is going to sell out per se, but if you really want it, I probably suggest, well, I don't know what sells out faster, because Hasbro Pulse sells out pretty fast, because that's where everybody usually goes, and Walmart's website is ass because that shit glitches like crazy. So I don't know, this is going to be a tricky territory. So if you are interested in this, and I don't know, I'll just try my best to provide the links in my community tab. So just stay tuned for it. Hopefully you guys are able to get this figure, and otherwise the figure itself just looks really awesome. Elvin says, would he show up an hour early in Pulse for premium? To be quite honest, I don't really know how Hasbro decides what figure goes up earlier on Pulse, because I could be wrong. I just don't remember what figure or figures they used to have, which were either on time or just, you know, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see at this point, because Hasbro should really say the figure is going up at 10 a.m. for premium or whatever, or 9 a.m. for premium and then 10 a.m. for regular collectors, but Hasbro sucks at communicating, so. Robert says available for 10. Where is that, like other retailers? I mean, he could be on Amazon anyway. It's just it could be a third-party seller though. Pulse is usually 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Eastern premium. Yeah, that is true. It's just confusing because this is a Walmart exclusive, so I'm just like, Hasbro really needs to communicate with fans and be like, well, it's going up at Walmart at 10 a.m., but Hasbro Pulse should be the usual 1 p.m., but we know Hasbro just sucks at communicating, so it is what it is. All right, so before we get to the final stretch of the stream, I want to quickly go over the, where is this? Oh, the leaks and prototypes and the next wave, quote unquote next wave for G.I. Joe Classified, because so much has been happening in the past week and a half when I wasn't at my computer making videos, but I was keeping up to date with it. So here's basically a list of, I think, all the stuff we know so far that's coming out that's been leaked from either Shaw Lu or these other collectors from Reddit or Weibo.com. So the reason why I'm not posting the photos on here is because I really want to go back to the time where we would all be surprised and enjoy being surprised at what a figure looks like. Because once we start looking at leaks and stuff like that, I mean, I think like having the name, I think that's totally fine. But when you actually post the image of the leaks, I think it just kind of like defeats the purpose. Even if it does build hype and momentum, it's just, I personally want to go back to being excited when a classified figure kind of comes out, rather than talking about it to death. And then once you get the actual official reveal, then it's like you already said everything you needed to say during all those leaks that came out, and at that point you're just beating a dead horse. So at least with this one, we know most of the, I think the earliest leak that we had so far that hasn't been announced or even revealed yet has been the green shirt army builder. He was leaked last year, and we still haven't had any type of indication of when this guy is coming out. And it was a full body prototype. He was in the light green torso, I think, with the dark green pants. And then we had another Bat figure coming out, which, you know, cartoon, seems like a cartoon version of Bat, because the cartoon versions of the Bat figures were the red face plates, whereas the first Bat figure that came out had the silver face plate, which would paid homage to the original O-ring figure. So this one pays to the cartoon. So and we've seen like a full body shot of that one as well. Mr. Madiga says we've already seen them. That's true. I'm sure everyone has already seen it. It's just I'm trying to be as cautious as possible these days. Mr. Matt, oh, all right, sorry. Ivan, what's up with the shark emoji? Thank you so much for joining. So then we've gotten a Major Bludd head sculpt leaked, where we also got a photo of his leg. So now the thing about Major Bludd is the classified version, the first version that came out, was already superior. It's like S tier classified figure. This Major Bludd could easily be the O-ring version, because if you look at the O-ring one, his color scheme is black and brown, but the cartoon version is brown, gray, and blue. So we don't know which version. It could go either way. Maybe we'll get both versions at some point. Hasbro could easily switch it up. Nobody knows based on the color palettes of the figures, but from what people have been telling me, it's supposed to be a mainline release. So a mainline release, I'm based on the conversations that we had on tonight's stream, a mainline figure must be cartoon, and the retro is O-ring inspired. So we will come back to this Major Bludd at some point, but his head sculpt and leg has been prototype leaked. The biggest shocker that we had was a torso that had Mercer's vest kind of written all over it. So I thought that was really, really cool. The thing about Mercer was that he comes originally in the O-ring line as a 3-pack with Taurus and Mad Dog, or Red Dog, sorry, one of the dogs. So I don't know if they're going to do a 3-pack, or technically that should have been well, I don't know if that should be an exclusive, but they should be a 3-pack because that's how they were introduced in the G.I. Joe 87 movie. So we don't know anything about the other 2 characters, but we do know Mercer is probably on the way with this torso leak. Version 4 Snake Eyes, we've known for a while now that he's coming, but we finally got a leaked torso version of him. So we know he's coming, so there's no surprise there. Monkey Wrench was also a figure that was stated to be part of the next wave, but his leg was prototyped and leaked. But we've also seen Monkey Wrench on the back of the Cold Slither box set, which I talked about in the previous live stream. So we know Monkey Wrench is also coming. And then the biggest highlight here is the Armored Cobra Commander leak, which I forgot to write it on here, but sorry, it wasn't the torso. I apologize. It's not the torso of Armored Cobra Commander. It's the helmet and his leg. So just disregard the torso part. I apologize. I goofed up on that. So with the Armored Cobra Commander, that is a figure that technically everybody has been dying to have. Well, mostly everyone's been dying to have, because he's a great looking figure. Was introduced within that style in the Deke series with a cool teal, blue, and silver armor. The issue that some people are having is that he doesn't, for now, we don't know if he comes with a removable head sculpt or, you know, another head or like a removable helmet. Nobody knows right now, but collectors are saying it could be a very big missed opportunity if the Armored Cobra Commander doesn't come with a unhelmeted head sculpt. But I guess we should see where that goes. And my biggest complaint, I don't want to say complaint, a nitpick that I have, even just based off the prototypes, is I don't want the Cobra Commander figure to be a skinny one, because based on the leg of the prototype, it looks very slim, and the armor doesn't look as bulky as the O-ring version does, even how it does look in the cartoon. So I don't want it to be like a skinny, skimped out armored version of the Armored Cobra Commander, because I will be really disappointed in it, because I love that one. So we'll come back to the Armored Cobra Commander at some point. And then we know that the rumored or upcoming wave is Snake Eyes version 4. Monkey Wrench we've already talked about. Well, Snake Eyes and Monkey Wrench are the only 2 right now have been leaked in prototype form. But the 2 biggest highlights of this wave is Sci-Fi and NIGHTVIPER, 2 of my freaking all-time favorite characters. I'm very scared and nervous to see how Sci-Fi and NIGHTVIPER is going to look. So we're going to have to come back to those 2 characters at some point, because for those that are watching right now, I'm telling you right now that I have very, 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 very high expectations for Sci-Fi and NIGHTVIPER. Again, those are 2 of one of my favorite characters within Cobra and Joe's. So I have such a high expectation that they have to look good as they do in my head. Because if they don't, I'm going to go on a full ranting spree, and you guys are going to be part of it. So stay tuned for that. So that's basically all we know so far for the leaked prototypes in the next wave, but we will come back to all these once more things, you know, come up at some point. We'll see how, you know, the figures are going to look like design-wise, color scheme. I just hope NIGHTVIPER doesn't look like an Alley Viper repaint, like the Trench Viper, just in green. Because the NIGHTVIPER is so specific in design that I don't want to see any reuse parts of an Alley Viper on that shit. Otherwise, I'm going to be so pissed. And again, sci-fi, we'll just see if he's muted green, light green, vibrant green, neon green. Nobody knows right now, but we'll see. And so, like I said, we'll come back to all this in a future live stream. This is just like a brief overview of what we can expect to come. You're absolutely welcome, Fun Man. Thank you. I appreciate you saying those kind words. To end off the stream for tonight, don't forget that next week on March 18th, which is a Tuesday, we have the upcoming G.I. Joe Classified fan stream event, where it's still to be determined if any of these freaking ass characters are going to go for pre-order. The stream, I believe, is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be in the chat of that stream, so if you want to give a shout out, we're going to throw a bunch of shark emojis like I always do on that stream because it's just fun. So here are all the characters that have not been revealed to be up for pre-order just yet, but they did announce that it's going to be a very big live stream because they postponed it from February 18th to March 18th. So we have, well, the Cold Slither 4-pack we know is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. But then we also have Darklon, we have the Slice and Dice 2-pack, and then we have Crankcase with the Awe Striker, we have Blowtorch, we have the Cobra Claw and Pilot, we have Law and Order, we have Footloose, we have Frag Viper, we have the 2 scuba divers as part of the mass device, and then we have the giant ass snake armor, whatever machine robot thing. So this is going to be absolutely insane because if you, like I said, if you disregard the 4 Cold Slither figures, because again, that's the San Diego Comic-Con box set, the rest of the figures could be going up for pre-order on March 18th. Nobody knows at this point. It's all going to be a surprise. We're all going to flip our shits when we see the prices for a lot of these. We already know, based on what people have been saying, that Crankcase with his Awe Striker is supposedly $100, and I think that's bullshit because the Awe Striker is not as detailed or big as a Vamp. So the fact that the Awe Striker can be the same price as a Vamp does not make any sense to me one bit, but whatever, it is what it is. I'm very curious to see what the Slice and Dice 2-pack pricing will be. Hopefully not $60, but you know, anything. And then Cobra Claw, everyone is saying roughly $60 to $100 at this point. That's going to be scary as hell. Mutton Junkyard, sorry, Law and Order. I think the Mutton Junkyard figure was like $50, I think, at Target. So I don't expect Law and Order to be any less. Frag Viper had a really cool display at Toy Fair with an alternate head, but which we'll talk about that later. And then the 2 scuba divers with the mass device effect, which those who want to complete it has its own thing. Mr. Sampson says, when are we doing the old school movie live stream? We will do that on the Retro Shark channel. Speaking of, crap. Oh, I had some VHS pickups as a quick segue. Mr. Sampson, this is gonna piss you off, but I just got the Star Kid on VHS. Look at that. That looks really cool and funny. I don't know if anyone has ever seen this movie, but it was just a really cool 90s charm to it, so whatever. I also got the Guyver on VHS, so really cool movie. I thought it was really awesome. So yeah, for those who don't even know what the hell a VHS is, VHS. And the last pickup I did, I don't know if people even know what this movie is, but I got this on eBay for $2. The 5 Deadly Venoms freaking badass martial arts movie. VHS, front, back, good stuff. Great movie. So yeah, little VHS segue, but I'm going to talk about those on the Retro Shark channel, so stay tuned for whenever that time comes. But so yeah, other than that, I will definitely have a live stream next week to talk about the pre-orders for March 18th. If anything happens within this entire week, say something crazy happens for classified, expect to see a SHARKNEWZ video and expect to see a SHARKNEWZ shorts, whatever I can think of. But stay tuned for more updates and stuff. And I think that's pretty much concludes tonight's live stream. I kind of went over my time frame, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So yeah, other than that, I think that will conclude tonight's stream. So like I said, the next live stream I will do will be next week, talking about the pre-orders for March 18th, and then we will take it from there and see what new figures have been revealed, what new renders, what new name only reveals, and be ready to talk about the prices, because we're going to have a field day on that one. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody who were engaging in the chat. Please like this video, help the algorithm and help this channel grow, and thank you for subscribing to the channel. A Romo says, just to make sure, will there be Walmart crystal ball? Yes. Yes, A Romo. I always like the kid with the golden armor over 5 venoms. Yeah, we'll talk about that on the other channel, because I have a lot to say about these VHS movies. But other than that, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Thank you for making the stream very fun and spending these 2 hours with me. I will definitely see you guys all next week, and it should be a good one. So be sure to save your money, get your asses kicked with pre-orders, because it's going to be a crazy one. So I will see you all then. Till then, enjoy collecting, have a great week and weekend, have fun, hug your loved ones, and I will see you guys all. Oh yeah, crystal ball is this Thursday, so don't forget. I will see you guys all in next week's live stream. So take care, have a good night, and again, thank you for everybody in the chat who made this night very special. Take care, and see you all next week.